Welcome to Chasing Hard podcast, where we talk about trusting God when life doesn't turn out the way you planned. It's just me today, which is, I like it better when there is someone to talk back, to interact with. But I have some thoughts and some things that I want to talk about. And I hope you're open to hearing them, and that you let me know your thoughts and your views and leave me comments or feedback and share the post or the podcast, whatever. So this is we had an election last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever, a few weeks ago in November. Local elections, voted for governor and judges and all the things. And I just had some interesting thoughts along those lines. Thank God for our electoral system. Thank God that we have been given the privilege, the opportunity, the right to go and elect the people into office who most align with the views that we have, who most align with our values. Not everyone does, and not all of us are the same. And that's why it's a good system when it works. And hopefully it will keep working. And hopefully it isn't being tampered with by the different parties, the different candidates, other countries. There's been a lot of electoral unrest in the last couple of decades, right? I mean, to me, the biggest one comes to my mind is the Bush Gore debacle, the Chads, the horrific mess that became, and how that could be so screwed up, and how it still confounds me, I guess is the word, that people go to the lengths they go to win when you're representing people. So if it's a false electoral result, you're not representing the people. You won what? That's not even where I was going to land, but it's something to think about. How much confidence do you have in our electoral system these days? When you go to the polls to cast your vote, do you think they're going to count once? Is it just yours? Some people were concerned that now we sign in electronically, which is the first time, truthfully, that I have experienced that. I signed in via a pad, an electronic device, instead of a piece of paper. Still showed proof of identification, proof of who I was, but not sure how I feel about the whole electoral thing, the whole not electoral thing, the whole you know technical doing it electronically, I guess maybe is the best way to say it. But it is what it is, and we live in an electronic digital world, and I guess that's where it's going to stay. Onward and upward, and we move forward. So anyway, yes, I'm grateful for my freedom. I'm grateful for yours. I hope you exercise your right to cast your vote for who you want to cast your vote for, who you feel like would represent you and your views and your opinions and your morals. And you go and do that. A lot of people were very disturbed by Ohio's decision to make abortion a constitutional right. No, that's like, we fight hard for that one, and I like that it's no longer a federal thing, that it's a state thing. it feels like that would represent the people better. But sometimes I marvel at how we even got to this point in our society to think that it's okay to take a human life. And then we have the debate on when conception starts, or not when life starts, if life starts at conception or not, when they become a human, which is so dumb. Because I don't think we do that with any other species. Like, do we do that with cats and dogs and animals, or is that just a human thing? But anyway, I believe that a woman has a right to do with her body what she chooses to do, except when it infringes on the rights of another. Abortion should not and was never meant to be a means of birth control. And so it does sadden me to think that a majority of people think it's okay. Abortion is okay. And I get it that they the catchphrase, it comes under the guise of a woman and her right to choose. Never mind the fact that it takes two people to create a human, to create a baby, to impregnate a woman. And what about the man's right to choose? So it's not his body. He had a part to play, and so did his body. I know this is not going to be a popular belief. That's probably not going to go over well, but I'm past the stage of caring whether it's popular or not, because I have to answer to how I lived my life, how I conducted my life, the choices that I made, what I stood for, what I got behind. And I'm going to get behind the innocent, unborn, unable to speak for themselves person every single time. I'm not a huge activist, and I've said before, I don't get political, and I don't think this is political. I think this is spiritual. And in fact, I think we, the people, need to start viewing politics as spiritual issues, because they are, like honesty, integrity, how we treat people, how we manage the funds that have been entrusted to us. All of those things are spiritual. Like, it all comes down to our characters and the choices that we make. It's sad to me. And I heard a person, a mentor of mine, the day after the election, talking about the Ohio's decision to allow women to abort their babies. And I don't know all the terms around it. I don't know if there's a cutoff date, whatever. I just know that it's a thing. I tend not to watch the news because it seems like not news, or what they present as news is really editorialized, and you're getting lots of views and opinions instead of what happened, who, what, when, where, why. And maybe not the why. Well, whatever. I'm not a journalist. She was talking about the fact that people who have major issues with gun control, who want gun control, nobody should own a gun unless you jump through all the hoops. And I mean, I tend to agree there should be some hoops, but if there are too many hoops, those who have evil intentions are going to be the ones with the guns, not the people with consciences and morals and character. Those are the ones who are going to follow the rules and not have guns, not those who are going to do harm. That's a little skewed as well. But she was saying that those people who are against guns because of gun violence have no qualms whatsoever about abortion. And there are those who would argue that it's not the same thing. We're talking about life. You're going to define life. Someone, we have, like, why did we ever have to redefine life? Life was defined. And then we had decided to redefine it. Why do we humans redefine everything? Like, that's crazy to me. It is what it is. And then we change it to be something that it's not. So yeah. Let's see what else I have on my notes that I wanted to talk about. It's like this whole life issue thing. This whole, if how can we have these laws that if a human conception, if life doesn't start at conception, when does it start? When it is born, when the baby's born? Then why do we have a law that if someone murders a pregnant woman, that's a double homicide? Like, you can't have it both ways. Can you have it both ways? You can these days. We live in an upside down world. Like, right is wrong and wrong is right. And how can it be a human life that someone took in this instance, and it's not over here? It's a fetus. Yeah, that's insane. Which isn't really surprising, doesn't surprise me, shouldn't surprise any of us, because it's been predicted what the depraved minds, where we are now has been predicted from thousands of years ago. Like the craziness of redefining everything and all of these rights and being offended and our division, like brother against brother, children against parents, parents against children. Like, we are such a divisive society, which I don't think it's an accident, because united we stand, divided we fall. And we are so close to a fall, so close to a civil war, because of how divided we are. And one of the reasons we are so divided, it's like I said, I don't listen to the news very often. And when I do, I tend to listen to more conservative, less liberal newscasters, which means these conservative newscasters are still editorializing. They're just editorializing on the conservative side. Liberals think the conservatives are wrong. The conservatives think the liberals are going to hell in a handbasket. Like, and the interesting thing is, like, the more we tune into our choice of viewpoint when we get our news, the more we click on whatever aligns with our morals and beliefs on social media, the more that's being reinforced, because that's what our news feeds look like. The more we turn the channel on to CNN or Fox News, it's being reinforced. That's what we're being told. They're preaching to the choir. Like, why do we even have all of these shows? Why do we even have all of these news stations? Because conservatives are preaching to the conservatives. They already think that way. And they're like, yeah. Liberals are doing the same thing. They're preaching to the choir there, preaching to the liberals who already think these things. What's the point? Are we trying to persuade people? That's probably not going to happen. And that's not news. That's not news. Okay. Divided. It is a very, very sad affair, a sad situation that we're in. being so divisive. And even in our churches and with fellow believers, there are fallouts, relationships end because we have different political beliefs. Because this group of Christians say, if you believed in God, you wouldn't vote this way. And this group of Christians say, well, if you believe in God, you wouldn't vote this way. And we just cut each other off. Like, how insane is that? Like, the church should be the one place where that does not happen, where we allow the other person to have their opinions. We can voice ours, they can voice theirs. Our relationships don't end because of it. Knowing that we can differ because we're going to go to the polls and make a difference, hopefully. But we have no faith in our electoral system because everything's been jacked up. Everything has been jacked up. We live in an upside down world. We do. And sometimes, a lot of times, I pray a lot. Lord, come quickly. God, do you not see what is going on down here in the world that you created? Of course, he sees. And even more so, he knew when he created humans and saw us as good. Like, he knew what was going to happen. He knew the messes we were going to make. He still called us good. He saw us as good. He loved us so much, no matter our political beliefs, that he sent his son Jesus to die on the cross for us, so we wouldn't have to pay a price we couldn't pay. Jesus died our death so we could live forever. That's a beautiful thing. Because here's the deal, that in the end, there is an end. As much as we don't want to think there is, as much as we, in our scientific advancement, where we can clone sheep, we're working to grow babies, humans, outside of a human, like in a womb of an animal or in a test tube situation. We have come a long, long way. God has gifted men and women with the brains, the skills, the ability to experiment and learn how to do these amazing things. And yet, we aren't finite beings, infinite beings. We are finite beings. The bodies that we are in have a shelf life. We weren't created to live forever. And so there will be an end for each of us. And in the end, I'm not a Bible scholar. I've said that before. We will have to give an account for how we lived our lives, the choices we made, the decisions on how to use our gifts, the legacies that we left our children. Do we have to be perfect? No. Am I perfect? Not by a long shot. I'm open to owning the mistakes that I make and have made in the past to the people I love the most. So we're not expected to be perfect. That's why we have a Savior. This life isn't about us. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about our happiness, our fulfillment. It's not why we're here. We're here to serve God by serving others and to do what he would have us to do with our lives that he gave us, and the gifts and the abilities he instilled within us. The unique and individual people that we are, he created us. I'm not sure about judgment. That's in the Bible. God is a just God. I know that. It's just as much as he is a merciful God, and he is merciful to us. Like, when I think about what's going on with the whole Israeli-Palestinian thing, that blows my mind as well. How people who are against guns want to wipe out an entire nation, an entire nationality of people because of their ethnicity. We live in an upside down world. How can that coexist with gun control? Like, how can you want to wipe out a group of people? You're putting them all in a box and saying they're all the same way, same thing, and they should be dead. They should be wiped out. Doesn't that bother you a little bit? Because what if your group is next? Whatever group you identify with, whatever group you are a part of, what if you're next? Like, that's insane. And here's the thing, whether we like it or not, or believe it or not, the Israeli people are God's chosen people. Like, he was their God. And because of their rejection, he went to the Gentiles, sent Jesus to die on our behalf. So life isn't about us. It's not about our happiness. It's okay if we're happy. It's great to find joy in the things that while we're here, while we are occupying, but it's not about us. It took me a long time to come to terms with the fact that I don't get to live. I didn't get to live the life that I thought I deserved or that I wanted or whatever. I didn't get that. I got what I got. So what am I going to do with what I have, what I've been through? What are you going to do? We get a choice. We get to a choice in the matter. We get to choose. We get to choose how we're going to move forward and conduct ourselves in our lives. What does that look like? Touch on a few things. My challenge to you is to keep your mind open, and maybe even open it up to the fact that everything is spiritual. Everything has a basis of spirituality. We are spirit beings. We live in a world, but things are spiritual, and you can't separate a lot of things from spirituality. Like, to walk out your faith is viewing politics through your spiritual lens, your Christ following lens. So I want to challenge you to do that, challenge you to be open to having conversations and discussions, and even just listening to someone with a different opinion than you, because maybe you can better understand where they're coming from. And don't try to change them, and don't even argue, just listen. And I challenge you to not cut them off or end a relationship because their opinions are different from yours. I want to challenge you to look at this life as what it is, a short span of time that goes by in a nanosecond, and that it has an end. In the end, there is an end. I guess that's where I want to land the plane today. In the end, there is an end. And in between the beginning and the end, you get a say. You get a say in how you respond. You don't get to dictate everything that happens to you, around you, in the lives of those you love. You just get a say in how you respond to those things. And most importantly, how you respond to God, who loves you so much that he sent his only son to die in your place. And that's where I'll leave you today, and ask you to think about those things, and let me know what you think about what I said. Thanks for joining me and listening to me and my opinions and my views. And I try to be God inspired when doing those things, when making these recordings. I hope you join me next week, and my guest. And I hope you have a good week.